This is Heterodox Records on Repeater Radio. We are doing a series of artist profiles. My name is Vern, and we are going to start with the founder of Heterodox Records, Ramon Mills. Hi, Ramon.
Hi. The name came from this game that we played in this house I lived at in Gainesville, 1027, where somebody would get a book, like a dictionary or a thesaurus or like a novel or something like that, and we would flip through the book and point at something and like assign that word to a person, like some kind of form of divination. And I received the word heterodox from that game. I named an album Heterodox back in 2003, I think 2002 or 2003, and then I started Heterodox in 2006 or so, the record label. I started the label mainly because I was sending out demos to try to get something released, and I never heard anything back. The original plan was to make a comp and have a bunch of people put tracks on it and to put that out. But we ended up just doing an EP series first, where we did like 4 EPs on 1 CD, and we got like a short run of those pressed and made a website and what little social media you could back in 2005, 2006. And yeah, that's how we started. We started in Nashville, North Carolina. Me and my friend James were the primary people that started it, and we had quite a few people in the area and people I met along the way who helped as well.
When did you first decide that you wanted to play music and be a musician?
Looking back, I don't really see a time where at least fucking around with sounds wasn't a part of my existence. So it kind of felt like a natural progression. Like I remember I wanted to be like a vocalist when I was like a preteen, listening to like R&B, and to use this term again, New Jack Swing and all that stuff. I wanted to sing like Boyz II Men or some shit like that. And then when I got into like alternative music, I wanted to be like a singer in like a rock band type thing, and kind of stumbled into making electronic music. Probably mainly through 9 Inch Nails and then Aphex Twin via 9 Inch Nails, and then all the Warp Records shit. Got super into that. Sorry guys, we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty with the connection here.
Please hold.
Please hold.
This is what it sounds like here, sorry. Go ahead and...
Okay.
Testing.
4, 5, 3.
Testing.
Hello?
Combinations.
Testing. We're back.
We're back, and we are not sure what you're hearing out there, but we're gonna keep on going.
Mercury in retrograde, you never gave me my lemonade.
And that's an example of Ramon's R&B career.
What could have been? What could have been?
How did Second Saturday start, and why?
Community has always been super important to me with making music, especially since I left Gainesville, I guess. That was always my thing. Even before making music, I mean, I play role-playing games and run role-playing games like D&D and shit like that. And yeah, just like building some kind of community or like pseudo-friend family has always been high on my priority. I moved into this house called the Alice Coltrane Memorial Coliseum, or now it's called the Wazoo because they got a cease and desist letter from Alice Coltrane to stop calling it that. But I moved into that house in early 2018, and that was kind of the idea. Like I had come out of like a long relationship and was going through a lifestyle change, getting back into being an active member of music communities, and that was like a house with like a bunch of creative people in it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna move in here and like make music with these guys. And that was great for a while, and then the pandemic happened, and everybody, you know, we didn't hang out and go to clubs or anything like that for a long time. And right around the time that vaccines were available, we started getting vaccinated. Me and Jason Cesar and Todd from the Wazoo, we all decided to invite people over to the house there and do like, originally it was like an art and music day where we like all like gathered outside and like made art and displayed art, and then had like a big jam session inside in the evening time. And I continued with that. I moved out of the Wazoo and into another apartment and continued it there, and it just grew and grew.
What are you hoping to do with the Free Noise Foundation? What's that about?
The Free Noise Foundation was actually originally a name that I was thinking about using back when I was selling on a artist name, and I've released a couple of albums as Free Noise Foundation. It's always been sort of a collaborative project where people would come over and like, in the beginning, people would just come over and like I would just record music and like, or sample them singing or talking or whatever, and like make music with it. And yeah, now I plan on like that being a thing where we have a revolving crew of artists that all record together and play live sets together, sort of like a electronic music, jazz, improv group.
I know a lot of your albums are also about a world that you created called Talanis, and I'm curious when you created that world and how it's grown over time along with your music.
Talanis is my role-playing game, mainly role-playing game world that I started cooking up when I was probably about 14, I think, 14 or 15, somewhere in there. And it is, yeah, it's like a sci-fi fantasy world with my versions of different fantasy and sci-fi tropes. And I run a couple of different games inside of this game world with, actually, I never expected this would happen, but with a bunch of other electronic musicians. I guess I didn't know the big crossover between electronic musicians and role-playing games. I had always like been naming like songs and albums after role-playing game themes and after like my characters and stuff in role-playing games, but it was actually Ian of Elron in Leather Jester. He made the first Talanis EP, and it was kind of like a soundtrack of the games I had been running for him. I was honored that he wanted to be in our games, and he's a great player. He's contributed a lot to the whole thing, and then he made an album for it. So I'm like, wow, that's like a life goal I didn't even know I had yet, to have like a musician that I really respect write a soundtrack album based off of my role-playing game world. And he encouraged the rest of us to do it too. So Jason and I, our project Sumner, we made a Talanis-based Sumner album called Post-Apocalypse Now that I kind of view as like a, you know, an anime like season or like a comic book story arc of like these two members of this military force of a race called Lunicalo, which are these kind of genetically manipulated elves. And the two of them, Jacindal, Jason's character, and Dinra, my character, it was about them meeting and the things that they went through in a certain adventure. There's one weird thing about the game. I mean, you know, all the weird constant war political stuff's been going on forever, but like I deal with a lot of like really like political themes in my role-playing games, and it's just crazy how much what I've been doing in these games are mirroring what's going on in the real world now. It's kind of weird, but it's also kind of interesting to have like this creative space where we can explore political and social ideas in a creative way, and like be able to like apply creativity that's not like super based on like monetizing hobbies and like the ego and stuff, and like this really weird liminal space where we can also kind of deconstruct and learn more about the world and ourselves.
I feel like that's something I've been really excited about in Portland, where it seems like the art and music scene here is really collaborative and really focused on like supporting each other and like bringing people in and getting really excited about the projects that each other is working on.
Yeah, that's why I stayed here. I was really thinking about moving back to home, quote unquote, back to Florida, Gainesville, Florida, in 2017 when I went through a breakup. But this, yeah, like the Portland underground electronic music scene in particular is like what I was kind of looking for the whole time that I've been traveling around. It's like a lot of people that aren't fighting, and like people aren't trying to one up each other. It's just like a lot of people that are like really into collaborating and building community and building each other up and booking each other and like working on music with each other, playing shows together. It's pretty amazing.
It seems like you have a lot of gear and a lot of knowledge about that gear. How has your setup changed over time?
Yeah, it's pretty different. I mean, I started making music in 1999 with just a computer and Acid DJ and FL Studio and Rebirth, kind of just like hobbling that stuff together with no real background knowledge or information about how to do anything, just like making it all work. And that just grew to really nerding out about computers and computer music and figuring it all out and figuring out how it works. So it was just like making music on the computer, rendering it, and then playing files live until, you know, Ableton came around and I got MIDI controllers, and it was more actual performing the stuff that I was making in the software. And then it eventually moved on to hardware. I got my first hardware synth in like 2005, a Novation K-Station, and then it just kept growing.
I've heard there's a story about the Octatrack and how it came into your life.
I knew I wanted a sample-based drum machine, and I was kind of like stuck on getting a Electribe ESX sampler, but then I had a dream about the Octatrack. I mean, I already saw it, like the ads or whatever. That was back in 2012 or 2013. And then I got obsessed with it, like looking at all the videos, reading the manual, and I really wanted one. I started saving money for one because they're not cheap. But my friend Art Pinsoff, excellent musician, Days of Heaven, he came over to hang out one day because we played a couple shows together. We wanted to start hanging out and making music, and he had an Octatrack with him, and he dropped it off and said, see if you like it, and if you like it, we can talk about price and I'll sell it to you. And I had already planned to do LSD that night, because I was like on this, that's a whole tangent I can go off on, but I was like using LSD to kind of reawaken my creativity. And then I got that when I was already planning on, you know, just working on music all night by myself and tripping on acid. So I still ate acid and just like played with the Octatrack all night and like figured it out, like pulled the manual up on my phone and just like figured it out, made a bunch of music until the wee hours in the morning, and then yeah, everything clicked.
How have you used psychedelics like in your creative practice, if you don't mind talking about it? I'm curious.
Many different ways. I mean, as I got more into electronic music, me and my like friends in high school, like we were trying to find LSD and psychedelics, and we eventually did, and that was like always tied with music. I mean, our first trip was all about listening to crazy electronic music and like flipping out on it, and yeah, it's like I think I completed my first song that I was super happy with, and my first project, Angelic Vanity, when I was like coming down off of acid, and yeah, it's always been a major part of it. And when I was younger and a lot more brave or stupid, whatever you want to call it, I would perform on psychedelics, and yeah, I don't do that anymore. That's a commitment. I guess it also influenced the music that I make. I mean, all of the music I make is considered by some people ambient to a certain degree, because I like long evolving pads with like big textures that are super complex and like stuttering, like almost random percussion and like rhythmic melodies that kind of morph and change as you listen to it.
I heard you're working on a new album
I am working on a new album.
called Mr. X.
Yes, a little over a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit more. I came up with the idea that I wanted to make a Grant Morrison themed breakcore album. I was really into Grant Morrison comics at the time, and like the Grant Morrison TV shows like Doom Patrol and Happy. That was my concept, and that eventually turned into more of a I don't even know how to describe it really. Like, it's definitely not a Grant Morrison themed breakcore album. It's not a breakcore album either. It's mostly like footwork jungle and like different like rhythms like that and electro stuff and brain dance. And I haven't sampled any Grant Morrison TV shows or anything like that. And Mr. X is more of a chaos magic thing than anything else, because I stumbled across in some searching, I stumbled across old Letter People videos, and I found the Mr. X video.
Mr. M X X X wrong.
In the 70s and early 80s, it was like a PBS, like national PBS funded like TV show, like this educational show. They had these puppets that were different letter personifications, and they would like do these little skits about being like, I'm Mr. T, I have tall teeth and I sound like I'm from Texas, like weird shit like that. But Mr. X was this weird glitched out like misplaced thing, and his song was like, I'm Mr. X and I'm made all wrong, where do I belong, I'm Mr. X, I'm quite complex. It's like, and it had like this weird like late 60s 70s like experimental synth music made with like some kind of like weird CV sequencer from like the 60s. It was great, and I'm like, oh my god, Mr. X, I'm Mr. X.
Complex, and my front is now exactly where my back should be.
So it's time for
time.
the live set
For the live
portion of this interview.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to need to set up. So let me see if I can boot up Casey here and see if he can fill the air for us for a few minutes. Casey? Casey, are you there?
Yes, this is Casey Chrome.
Hi, Casey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Speaking of psychedelics, what are those? Those sound great.
Psychedelics are great, Casey.
Yeah. Yeah, what do they do exactly to someone like me?